play is about an actual event that did take place in the early 70s. Peter Schaeffer was one day driving along with a friend of his, and a friend of his said to him that not far from here there was a kid that blinded 6 horses in some kind of psychotic rage. And he then, of course, took that idea, the theatricality of that idea is absolutely massive. It brings into play all sorts of visual questions, I think, for him as a playwright. And then he took that idea and then he developed it on from there. It's hard. It's extremely difficult. From a director's point of view, it contains quite a lot of theatrical conventions. I mean, essentially it involves naturalistic acting. It involves a wide variety of theatrical uses of space. It involves physical theatre practitioners. There's an enormous amount of design, both lighting design, set design, costume design, of course, with the horses' heads, the masks that they wear, the hoofs that they have. So it's a wonderful educational opportunity in an arena like this at level 3. Well, that's where the physical theatre performers come in. And in many respects, what I do is that I hand those scenes over to the choreographer, who has a physical theatre background herself, and she's exceptional at working with students on getting them to be something other than they are physically. They work with her and they trust in the fact that it's not going to look stupid or ridiculous. The audience will, I think, very easily understand that humans can become horses very easily when you're working in this kind of theatrical environment. So rather than having a series of actors running around on stage with a little horse's head and a stick between their legs clippy-cloppying around everywhere, what you've got is the physical manifestation of horse and man being brought to life through this physical action. The design team as well are incredible. They've created these absolutely massive masks, these huge oversized horses' heads.
When I was told that we were originally going to do Equus, I thought it was very exciting because I'd seen the original production in London back in the 70s, when Adam was alive. I've been very impressed with the whole physicality of the people playing the horses. I mean, we now see Warhorse down in London with all the big puppets, but the original production was done with just people dressed in brown outfits, but with these beautiful shaped forms on their heads that weren't real, but you really believed them by the end of the production because of the way they shook their heads and the way they moved and they pawed the ground with their feet and things like that. So obviously I was very excited to try and convey this to the students.
I suppose what inspired me to create the mask was just looking at basically the whole structure and trying to keep that power structure as well.
My kind of inspiration for the mask, so looking at the different ones, the different productions, so the original from the 70s, which they used in the recent one on the West End, to different ones they've used in smaller productions.
And then we looked at the materials we could use to create that. Obviously when you're talking about power, you're not going to make something out of plasticine because it's going to fall apart, so we were looking at sort of metals and wood and leather and all the various things that one puts with horses, because you have to think of the harnessing and things like that to make them work.
Starting off from a small frame to start as a structure, and then applying it in different ways to just adding the little extra bits, really.
If you have a cast that are capable of producing this kind of work, I think that's the main criteria to begin with. The first thing that made me think about it was that I realised that this year I had a cast that could probably pull it off.
My character's Alan Strang, and he's a very disturbed boy who was brought up by a mum who's very religious and a father who's very strict, such as doesn't let him watch TV or anything. And he has a very strange view on horses. He sees them as gods.
You say anything when you give it to him?
Take my sins. Eat them for my sake, he always does. And then he's ready.
You can ride him now?
Yes.
Do it then.
Yeah, well, I play Martin Dysart. He's a he's a children's psychiatrist at a provincial hospital, and generally the theme of the play really focuses on how he's feeling in life and the fact he feels he's lost a lot of the passion out of his life and his relationships with his wife especially.
Their lumpy pop eyes fill up with blood. They tear the knife out of my hand. And I wake up.
I'm playing Hester, and she's the magistrate that sends Alan, the boy who stabs the horses, sends him to the psychiatrist. She's a friend of the psychiatrist, but she's his friend, and the way he talks to her, it's like she's his psychiatrist.
I really appreciate what you're doing. I suppose one thing we have to do is hold on to priorities.
It's tricky when it comes to adapting your character off the page, but I try to get myself into the character's head. So first you have to create the character and what the character would be like. So his life, his history, and then it sort of comes off the page for you in a way, because once you've created his backstory, you've created a person, then you can imitate that person. It makes it much easier.
Do wonders at that game. They swerve aimlessly at your area of maximum vulnerability.
I don't think that the audience will have too much of a problem about sitting and watching for possibly 2.5 hours, maybe slightly more, because I'm fairly confident with the way in which we're producing it, that it's exciting. That they should be enthralled by what we do, and hopefully it will be unforgettable.
I'm wearing that horse's head myself. That's the feeling, all brained up in old language and old assumptions. I think it has something to do with his nightmares.
He has nightmares.
It wasn't until I arrived fell off it they realised the truth.
Oh, that's fine.
I just coughed!
So you sneak out the house, midnight, on the stroke. How far's the stable? What do you do? First thing, what do you do?
Take me! Ah!
What?
Hurts!
Go on.
Knives in his skin. Little knives all inside my legs. Stay.